you. I'm doing a video. I'm gonna, hey, Emily. I'm gonna just kind of do a few things real quick in the kitchen while I wait for a few people to hop on. I'm working on trying to clean things up in the kitchen. I did dishes for what felt like forever yesterday. What are you doing, bud?
Huh?
What are you doing?
Mommy, that's the one to get the vegetables out?
No, I'm not getting the vegetables out.
Why?
Oh, whoops.
Why are you not?
That's not the kind. We do a video when we get this. That's not the kind of video that I'm doing right now.
Why?
Because it's not, babe. Whoop. Whoopsie. Well, I don't know what that is. Let me get some water. Hold on a second. So I did dishes for what felt like forever yesterday. I still have some left in the sink, but I'm almost done until the next, thing happens. Hold on. I'm making some energy stuff. I promise I'll start talking soon. Just making some hot water in the coffee machine. So I had the my light in here, so I thought I would just go ahead and do it in here. Look at this. I'm getting my hair cut next week, thankfully. Look at that. Look how much longer those are than that. It's crazy. So the last few months have been different. And especially for those of you who haven't been with us for a really long time. If you haven't been with us for a really long time, then you don't know that typically June and July and January are slower months for us because people in general are out and about doing their thing, having fun. But last year, people couldn't do that, and so they were at home and they bought Scentsy. But this year, they are out and about again, so they're not spending money like they were. They're also not, the majority of people are also not getting as big of stimulus checks, so they don't have as much money to spend as well. Plus, they're going on vacations. So the last few months have been different. They've been different for me than they were last year, but a little bit better than normal. So I have noticed this trend of like people just not working, which I find to be really strange. Considering we've still had lots of really great things coming out. So I thought if I got on and shared a little bit about what has been really successful for me and what has worked for me. Some of you are far better at sales than I am. Some of you are far better at recruiting than I am. But I'm almost 9 years into this. Almost. Just a couple days. And I feel like that says something, you know, when you've been doing the same thing for a long time. Even if I don't earn all the awards, because I don't, and I think that you guys sometimes think I do. I don't earn all the awards. Not even monthly sales award all the time. I do sometimes. I have never ever sold $3,000 in 1 month. Never sold over that. Like, I've gotten close, but I never have. And some of you might be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Like, you know, she's a superstar director. And that's true, but I don't have to. And that's not that I shouldn't, or that I shouldn't try harder or whatever, but I never have, because it's never really been like a thing that I felt like I needed to do. Like, it's always been presented to me as a $2,000 month is like really awesome. And sometimes I feel like we don't celebrate when we do that because we think that it's not awesome, because a lot of people do it all the time. And that's not true. So it is really awesome. And I am really ecstatic when I do it. So you should be too when you do it. So I have lots of tips and thoughts, and so I'm just going to share those with you guys, and you can take it however you want, or you can like it or not, or, you know, whatever you want to do with it. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit about the beginning of my career with Scentsy, and then I'm going to talk about what worked for me then in terms of longevity and sticking around, and then I'm going to talk about changes in my business and changes in those same scenarios. So when I first started Scentsy, we had a group of a really small group of like 25 people, which 25 people, you can be friends with 25 people. I mean, it was really small, and we were really close, and we all freaking loved our business. We had wax and we had warmers and maybe some body line. We had a body line called Layers. So our body line, that was just the name of it. It was called Layers. So really and truly, it was the same concept, but it is a little bit different. The formulas aren't the same. They're better now. The creams are better now. So we're definitely, you know, in a better place, I think. And we had a couple of other companies, one called Grace Adele, one called Velada. If you were in Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg with us, we talked about it a little bit. And it was really this concept of like, you could do all of them or you could do one of them, you know, whatever. And so if somebody sold Grace Adele, that was your friend, you could buy from them, or you could buy Velada from your friend. Your face looks really dry. And you didn't have to, like, you know, go find somebody, because you had all these friends who already did all the things. And so, anyway, so that's kind of how that was. And so we were all friends, and we made connections. And that was one of the first things I think that was really important when I started, was that I made all these friends. And why would I, you know, and not in the first year, really. I would say probably the first year, I just kind of did it to do it. But then once I started making those connections, it was like, why would I ever leave? Because these are my people. These are my best friends. And I love them. And Brittany Oods and Stephanie Naylor, like those two are really like people that I'm really close to. And I met them in that first couple of years. So I met those friends, had that, and then there was the engagement piece. So because we were a really small group, we always came to the group to ask tons of questions. We asked questions, everybody answered. We had a really cohesive like flow to the group. So there wasn't a whole lot of fluff in the group. Like it was all very like almost just like a hangout group, you know, like we were friends and we were working our business and we would ask each other questions about our businesses. If we couldn't find something, we would ask. We would encourage people to go to their workstations to find things, but if they couldn't and they couldn't get a hold of their sponsor, that they could come to the group and they could ask their questions and they would be answered. And that kind of came along with growth when we said, hey, go to your workstation first, just because you might not get the important stuff on the group page if you're not, you know, if you're focusing on something else. This has a weird consistency if it doesn't like dissolve all the way. I'm trying to like stir it in, sorry. So we would go live and do video. I don't even know if live was really a thing then, but we would do videos and we would post them in the group, and we would share everything. We shared everything that we were doing. Like, if I was cleaning my office, I shared that I was cleaning my office. If somebody was making samples, they shared that they were making samples. It was just an accountability. It was a way for us to really connect with each other, and it was so awesome. Like, I'm telling you, like, there was just a feeling of community, a feeling of networking. It felt like, honestly, kind of like home, you know, like, these are my people, you know. Hold on. That's still really hot. And so we did that. We would have Zooms where somebody would or we would as leaders, or Christina would just do like trivia, basic trivia, where like we would hop on and we would all do a trivia, and then we might get a prize, we might not, it just depends on how Christina felt that day or how busy she was or whatever. And so we would do these events, or we would do these Zoom meetings, or we would do events together, or it was just like a family. Like, there was no competition, there was no nobody like was made to feel bad if they didn't do something. We just all really loved each other and cheered for each other and wanted to be a part of something, you know. We wanted to have that community. Most of us didn't have kids yet, or a couple only had like a few. And so, you know, that was really, sorry, feels like it's balding right there. So that was like the biggest, most important thing that I think I ever started with, which is why I do want to make sure that we are engaged in this group, that we are communicating, that you're making friends, that we're talking to each other, that we're sharing everything with each other, because it's really important, and it really helps to grow accountability and community. So once I got to that, that was like a huge thing for me. I am such a people person. I'm an extrovert, and I thrive on connection with others. And when I'm struggling with connection with others, I get depressed and I get sad. And so, and not sad like sit around and cry all day, but just, you know, like my energy isn't there, and I don't necessarily have the motivation. And so being able, like going to Gallenberg was huge for me, because I was able to kind of rebuild my motivation. And that's what I want. I want people to understand, and maybe you're not a people person, and that's okay, but I want people to understand that there is something about that spirit. It's kind of like if you're a believer and you don't go to church for a while, and then you go to church, that you get that feeling and you're like, why don't I do this? Like, why haven't I been here for a while? And it's just that feeling of like that energy that you pour into yourself and that others pour into you. So, selling the products was really simple. And I think that we get caught up in all the things that we have, that we forget that we have a basic we could have a basic business and we could just sell wax and warmers if we wanted. We don't have to sell everything if we don't want to. But the majority of what happens in selling is you want to make sure that people have an experience, right? And so that's why the last year I've really increased
Mommy,
what?
Mommy, there's a swing in the bathroom.
There's a what?
There's a swing in the bathroom.
A string?
No, I just tied it together. I think it was the swinger that he makes it swing.
Okay, I'll check it in a little bit, okay?
That he makes swingy things but I did connect it to the bathroom door on.
You did? Okay, well, I'll come check it in a minute. You don't mess with it. So, anyway, so selling was really simple. It was, you have your testers, you get them under people's noses, they want to buy the product, they tell you what they want, you put it in as an order, you get it, and you give it to them. And it didn't have to be $2,000, and that's okay if that's your goal, and that's great. Like, I want everybody to sell $2,000. I would love that. But it was just like fun, you know, it was exciting and it was fun, and that was what we did. And we sold to family, we sold to friends, we had parties, we made new customers off of those parties. Everybody was filling out their order form. If your follow-up game was weak, which mine really was. So now we have a ton of training and a ton of help, and people are so kind and they share everything that they do. And the follow-up systems are there. You know, we introduced Amy several years ago, and people buy into that and they work their business towards that. And a lot of people say that they have had the most success that they've ever had because they use Amy, because it's a system that they can follow without making their own system. And so that's really great. You know, that's really something you want to do. And so what my point is here is, my tip is that if you want this to be something that's elongated, like you want this to be something that you do for a really long time, then it's really important that you make it fun for you, because if you hate it, you're not going to do it. You're not going to stick with it. And I love it. I really love my business. And there have been times where I've wanted to quit, and I've had to really go back to the basics of what I loved about it. I love packaging orders. I need to actually order some stuff. I love talking to my customers. I love the interaction that I get to have with new people. I do like one or two events in a year. And I love doing the one event because I know that the same people always come to me. I know that they find me and they seek me out because they love the service that I give them. And you know, that's just, it's really important that you help them have a positive experience. And so that's been really exciting for me. It's really important that you have parties, and it's been really hard for me, especially just this past year, to have parties because we weren't getting together, because we weren't seeing people, and our interactions were just really poor with everyone. And so it was hard to really engage people in parties. And so I was doing a lot of individual orders, and there just wasn't the same sense of like excitement for the products. I didn't see a whole lot of it, which is why I started the mail. But it's really good when you can connect with hosts, and the host will share the products for you, because they're working for you, but they're getting rewarded with the product. And that's something that's the whole point of it, right? So that they can get free stuff. And so you want to do that because you get new customers. And sometimes your normal customers are friends of the people who are hosting the party because you found them through your customers, who you found through your, I mean, it's just, so this party I'm having right now, she is, a family member of a customer who I've had for, I don't know, a year and a half or so. And I found her because she went to the same gym that my customer went to. And my customer had a party and posted it in the gym group. And she ordered. And now I'm having this party with her relative. So it's really exciting because you get to meet all these people. And you get to connect with whole groups of people that know each other, and you get to be their person, you get to be their dealer, as some people say. And that's super exciting. And so then we come to recruiting. And I never really thought that I would recruit. I never really felt like that was like the end game for me. I didn't know I wanted to be anything other than just a consultant selling the product until I went to my very first reunion. When I went to my very first reunion, family reunion is our, what we call our Scentsy family reunion, which is our convention. And so I went to my very first one in Indianapolis. It was very convenient because I live 2 hours from Indianapolis. And so I stayed with a friend from college who I hadn't seen in a really long time. We made a connection. I talked to her about Scentsy. I was really excited about it. She hosted a few parties for me. It was really nice to have those two worlds collide. It was the first time that I saw that Scentsy could actually be a connector. It could connect me to people who I haven't connected with in a while. It could connect me with people that I didn't really know, but I was Facebook friends with. It could connect me with people I don't know who are friends with my friends. And like I said, I'm an extrovert and I love people. It's just what I love. It's what I feel like I'm pretty good at it. I've had to struggle in the last couple of years with boundaries and finding like you can love everybody, but not everybody wants to accept your love. But that doesn't mean that you don't give it. So I've been working really hard on that, but also that was the first time I saw that connection, that like everything could just really come together and be together as one. And I loved that. I loved that I was able to have that experience. And then Janae Sexton talked about her experience with Scentsy and what it had done for her and her family and her life, and that really opened my eyes to what I wanted in the future whenever I had a family. So I decided I wanted to become a director, feeling like I was never going to accomplish that because I never did. I never accomplished anything. I graduated college, but I always did everything at such a like mediocre level. And so I thought I would probably end up quitting or failing miserably.
We went to Olive Garden and they were busy.
Yeah.
And then we go to Chick-fil-A and my mommy didn't want to go to Chick-fil-A.
No, that's not 100% the story, but we'll let that go. So anyways, so that was kind of the first thing. So then I had somebody join my team and she was awesome and she was a great recruiter. And we kind of built our businesses together at the same time. And because she was right there next to me, it forced me to look at what I was doing and making sure that I was always a step ahead so that I could be paid at title. I could be making sure that I met my minimums just like she did. And I started working towards becoming a director a little bit more intensively. And within 2 years, I hit director. 2 years, I think it was 3 years after I joined, but it was like 2 years from when I decided that I wanted to. And that moment when you realize that you've reached this goal that you thought was so far away is pretty spectacular, because you just accomplished something that you weren't sure you were going to accomplish. You just achieved this goal that seemed so unobtainable, but it's not. It just takes hard work and focus. And so I started recruiting more. my teams started recruiting, which was really important. And when we talk about recruiting and growing, you have to be very intentional. You have to make sure that you're connecting with other people, that you're asking people, that you're making it look fun, that you're making it look duplicable. Like, my business needs to look like something anybody else can do. Anybody else can stand in their kitchen. Like, it's a mess. I mean, it's better than it was, but it's kind of messy. Anybody else can stand in their kitchen and make a video going live to their team. Anybody can do that. Anybody. Maybe you're nervous or maybe you're not sure about it, but anybody can do that. And so you want to make sure that people see that. And that's so important. But those connections that you make with those people, remember the customers that I talked about that are family? One day one of them may decide that that's something that they want to do too. And then they start to decide somebody else that they know wants to do it, and somebody else. And so it just kind of grows on that. That's why following up is really important. The next point that I want to share is just talking about trainings, making sure that you're connecting. So when we have Zooms on Thursdays where we meet and we connect with each other, we're talking about friends and engagement. We're talking about training. We're talking about really connecting into the environment and into the community that we are growing, because this isn't my community, this is our community, this is for everyone. And so we want to make sure that whatever we're doing is working for everyone. And so if that's not working and you have another idea, or if you feel like there's something else that you would come to that maybe isn't Zoom, then you need to say, hey, why don't we do this? Or you can start it and invite everybody in the group and say, right now I'm hopping on Zoom and here's my code, or message me and say, hey, what's your code? Or hey, would you mind to start a Zoom meeting so that I can hop on and work, and I'm going to invite my team because I pay for it. So if you want to use it, you can use it. It's not a big deal. So because I want you guys to be engaged with each other, and I want you to be working with each other, and I want you to be learning from each other, because while we're not in like a work environment, we have all worked in an environment, and we all know that it's not really the job or the money or your boss that keeps you there. It's really the people that you work with, the people that you connect with. Those are the reasons that we stay, I feel like, in our jobs and in our careers. And I want all of you to be here forever because I love all of you. So that's really important. If it's trainings from home office, everybody loves the end of month lives. And so if we connect with that, that is also that engagement. That's helping us build relationships with them. Even if we can't talk to them or necessarily like one-on-one with them, we can still engage and we can still learn and we can still see things. It's like director boot camp. When you promote to director, you get to go to boot camp and you get to go to the home office, and it's really exciting because you get to see things that you wouldn't normally get to see, and that also adds that level of engagement and excitement. But the last and the most important thing is recognizing the blessings that you have been given, that you were led to this place by the universe, by God, whatever you believe to be true, that you were led here, and that this is a place that needs you, and that probably you need just as much. And so making sure that you are connected and that you are doing everything in your power to make sure that you're positive, that you are sharing, that you are experiencing the blessing that you've been given, that you recognize it as an opportunity and not as a hardship. And when you start to focus on the gratitude that you have for your business for the people on your team, for the customers that you have, for the experiences that you get to encounter. When you start to experience that gratitude, it's an intense amount of gratitude. But when you start to accept that and you start to feel that, that's when your business is going to explode. When you start to pray for your business, you start to manifest things in your business, that's when things will really happen. And I speak from experience, because every time in my business when I've struggled and I've had to sit down and go, okay, I need to go back to basics, and I put energy into it, just like it flows for me, and I pray about it, and I ask God to help me find someone that I can bless. And I ask God to bless my business so that I can bless others. And I ask God to bless those below me who are in this business. And I ask God to show me what's the best way to guide my team, to lead my team. Things tend to flow naturally. And that's the way they're supposed to. Because when you're grateful for things, sorry, my face is oily. When you're grateful for things, it continues. Well, I don't remember there's a quote. I don't remember what it is. Something along those lines. But the more positive that you put out, the more positive energy that you put out, the more positive energy that you're going to get back. And so I want to encourage you today that you take those things that I said. Those are the steps, and that's the practice that I have found to lead to longevity. Always showing up for your business, because this is your business. It's no one else's. It's yours. And if you don't show up for your business, then you're saying you don't want it. You're saying you don't care about it. You're saying it doesn't matter to you. You're saying that the people underneath of you don't matter when you don't show up. And I've been there. Dude, I've been there so many times. And it's not fair to everyone else. Of course, you have to take breaks and you have to take vacations, but you have to show up consistently. If you're not putting in your $500 a month as a leader, then you're letting yourself down. You're letting your team down. And then that's not to say that there aren't months that we struggle. But if you have a team, I don't care if you're getting paid at title. You should always have $500 in. Always. Because if you don't have $500 in, that tells me you're not invested. It tells me that you're not working your own business. It tells me that you're only here because you want a paycheck from other people. And I hate to be that way, and I hate to sound like that, because it's not necessarily true for everyone in every situation. But when people start to fall short of their leadership expectations, it makes me feel like they don't want to be a leader. And when you start to decide you don't want to be a leader, and you think about it, then you really need to evaluate where you're at. Because it's not fair to everyone else. It's not fair to the people who are working really hard. Because they deserve to have a leader that's working with them. And when you show up, whether you even say a word to the people on your team, that energy is there and they know. And if you disappear because you're not getting paid at title, or because your life is busy right now, or because something else is going on, that's fine. But you're going to have to come back from it. If you owned a store and you didn't show up at your store every day like you were supposed to, then your business is not going to thrive. And it's the same thing. Yeah, we all have our moments, but if you really want to be in this and you really want the longevity that you claim you want, this isn't for anyone in particular. This is just from a leader perspective. You have to show up for your own self. And then you have to show up for everyone else. Because that's what it is. This is a community of growth. It's a community of togetherness. It's not a community of I'm just going to sit on the sidelines and wait for things to come to me. You have to work. And you have to find the fun things about working that's going to help you. So when the expectation is for you to hit 500 and for you to have 3 frontline active or 2 frontline active or 1 frontline active, that's the expectation because that's the bare minimum that you should be doing. And there's Scentsy saying by having that, and so is the Direct Sales Association, who sets up these rules that we can't just sit at the top and make money, because we're supposed to be showing up for our businesses. We're supposed to be showing up for each other. If I make money off of someone, I want them to know that I am available. I'm not making money off of someone because that sounds really weird. It's a business. And when the top of the line isn't showing up, the rest of the line is going to fall apart. I've seen it a million times. I've seen it a lot. Maybe not a million because I've never had a million people on my team. But I've seen it several times where the very top person decides they're done. They drop off the face of the earth. And then guess what happens? Boom, 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 boom. They're not invested anymore because they were invested in their leader. They wanted their leader to help them. So you have to show up. It doesn't mean that you have to contact them every day. It doesn't mean that you have to be up there, blowing up their phone. It doesn't mean that you have to be doing trainings all the time. It means that you're there and you're working, and they know that you're still doing it. They signed up under you. You don't own them. They can leave. They can come back. They can go talk to somebody else. But they signed up under you. And you should show them that you're committed to them. And maybe they signed up under you and you weren't expecting it, and that's all good and well, but then make sure that they're connected. Make sure they're connected to our group. Make sure that they're connected to friends. Make sure that they're introducing themselves to everyone else. Because that's part of what you do, you know? And I'm guilty of not always doing it too. I'm guilty of not thinking about it like that. I'm guilty of, I had a full-time job and I was busy. You know, this summer was not super duper engaged because I wanted to travel just like everyone else. And taking time off and focusing on yourself is okay, but you have to start to create that system. You have to start to create those connections with people and other people so that you have Scentsy on your brain every day. Not because it's a chore, but because it's your business, it's a lifestyle, it's what brings you joy and happiness. Do your minimums. Show up for yourself. Prove to yourself, hey, I actually can do this. When I accomplished that, do you know what that did to my self-confidence? It went so much higher. I left a job I was miserable at for another job that I didn't ever really become miserable at, but let's just say I sometimes still have nightmares about it. But I had the confidence enough in myself to say, you know what? Like, I can do things. I can do hard things. I can push myself. I can challenge myself. And I never saw my life that way. I have ADD. I was never diagnosed until I was older. And I know a lot of people say they have ADD. And there are different levels and different reasons for why people have ADD. We don't have to get into all of that. But for whatever reason, I do. I've just never been great at focusing on things. And I learned that if I wanted something and I went after it, that I could do it. And I might not have to sit at my desk for hours at a time. I might be able to break it up. I might be able to have a messy office and still get things done because that's who I am. That's just always who I've been. And unless I want to be medicated to treat that, then that's how it's going to be until I figure it out. I was on medication for ADD when I was, I don't know, probably 26 or 27. And, man, I was so much more productive. I only took it for a month because I didn't like the way that I felt when I came off of it. And whenever, like at the end of the day, when it was like wearing off, I didn't like the way I felt. It made me feel jittery and angry. And so I didn't take it any longer than that, and I switched to something different that helped to treat anxiety versus ADD, which helped too. So anyways, moral of the story is we all have our stuff. We all want to be the best we can be. Allow this business to improve you in all those ways. You can show up for yourself. You can show up for your team. You can show up for whatever reason you decided to join Scentsy. And this isn't me being mean. This is me just telling you that this is what's worked for me. And you don't have to agree with me. But this is what I've seen to be successful. This is what I've heard from other people that have created lots of success. Just engaging and loving what you do and connecting with other people. That's truly all that matters. So take those tips, take those steps, try it in your own business, try it until January, see what happens. This is our busiest, best season yet, so make it amazing. Make it what you can make it, okay? I love you guys. I really appreciate you watching. You are a shining star. You are a superstar, and you can do hard things. If you need me, come talk to me. Bye, guys.